TPCSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download the app.
2,000 years long, we will never settle. Hard days, no way, with a heavy metal. No time, no fail, won't stop here. Like a torch to a flame when it burns hot. Won't stop, come on, baby, higher.
Excuse me, Mr. DJ.
Hey, check this out. We got a great show coming your way.
From the ECSI Sports Studios, it's the Midday Market Report with Jeff Dawson.
Good afternoon, sports fans from all around the globe. It's that time of the week for the Midday Market Report with Andrew McInnis for Monday, August 5th, 2024. You survived the weekend, and if you were a part of the Andrew McInnis Express, you crushed it in the CFL, and congrats. We told everyone on Tuesday, I think, and we talked again on Friday, come on board for that 30-day package and start cashing some tickets, and I hope a lot of you did. If not, it's okay, because he's got a bigger deal than that coming, and you'll see it at the bottom of the screen here, but we'll get to that. We'll bring Andrew in so we can recap the CFL. But first, shout out to our proud sponsorships, of course, with WagerWire. If you haven't downloaded the app, head on over to Google Play, download it. It's free. And I promise you, your fall, your 2025 and beyond will be the best it's ever been. Myself, Travis, Zach, the rest of that team and community will take good care of you. And of course, that last commercial, Viva Tequila Seltzer. Shout out to CT Bets, the rest of that team and family. And the new flavor, coconut. Let's get nuts about coconut. And come on board. Tell them JD from ECSI sent you, whether you're at the garden or at your local watering hole. Great stuff ahead. So without further ado, the star of this show, Mr. Andrew McInnis.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. How are you?
I'm feeling good. I mean, look, the CFL lines are out. We've got at least a couple lines out for week 10, and I can't believe we're here in week 10. But successful week 9, and Jeff, you know, I wish I could say I see the board as well in week 1 and 2 and 3 as I do really around this time of year, because you know what happens. People are talking college football now. They're betting NFL X. They're looking towards the second half of the baseball season. All the people I had following me and watching the CFL and interested, well, I kind of am losing those people. So we're kind of trying to bring them back in with some wins, and hopefully we were able to do that this weekend.
As I tried to play producer there, Noah Frank, where are you? Actually, I know where he is. He's at Kansas City versus the Red Sox, his real gig other than working with us. So, no, you're right. It's week 10. I say this all the time. I said it a couple times on the Sports Grid this weekend on Sunday at 3:30 and at 9:30. I was still up. The old man was still up at 9:30. You know, the funny part of it is there's still 2 months left in the MLB, Andrew. And with NFL preseason kicking off we had the Hall of Fame game last week, but Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, there's going to be games. Everyone's all giddy for the NFL, and then two weeks from now is week 0. So anyone could give a rat's ass about the MLB. Hey, you got us to this point. We're all set. We'll see you October 1st and 2nd for the playoffs. The same with CFL. CFL got us to this point. Now we have data. We know who's good, who's bad. As you had an amazing weekend, as you're on fire, you got to that number you're looking for. Now it's time to thrive. Let's bring them back in, Andrew.
Absolutely. Let's bring them back in. And, look at the CFL. The best part about the CFL is that you can catch teams in these flat spots off a win against a big team. The next week, for someone like us following along, I'm going to let people know about it. They don't have to be following the league like I am. That's the point of signing up. It's the point of tuning in to a show like what you and I do each week here. And a real good example, and it's definitely a good feeling, is being on the winning side of the Elks' first win of the season. I mean, you got to love it. You have to love it. A lot of people probably would have called me crazy for releasing a 5% play on the Elks to do something for me after getting smoked by Hamilton the week before. But I think one of the coolest things about the CFL compared to other leagues is that things really do change on a week-to-week basis. I know in the NFL, the market will adjust 3 weeks later, and then this team will start covering spreads again. But it's not often you can really see a team get absolutely smacked around 1 week and the next week look like a whole new team. So it's exciting to see. And, of course, you've got a team like Montreal that continues to kind of chug along. You've got Calgary that is kind of that team that nobody really expected much out of, but they are never getting blown out. They're always in games. They hang around yesterday, and they end up beating Toronto after they were losing, which what felt like for, 45 minutes of that game or 35 minutes of that game. So it's really exciting league. And I'll tell you what, we talk about it all the time. I love the fact that we do a show at the start of the week and a show at the end of the week to be able to give the viewers an idea of just how wacky these lines really are.
Going a step further, because I'll parlay exactly what you just said. Opening game of the year in the NFL is the Ravens at Kansas City. Is it 3? Is it 3.5? Or is it 2.5? And the under-over, I don't know, 48, 49, whatever the number is. My point is, NFL is so sharp. Even in the first game of the year, it's probably going to be Ravens win by 4 and 27-23, or Ravens win by 3 on a walk-off field goal, 27-24 by Butker. Then you're going to have half of social media that had the Ravens plus 3.5 that won by the hook. There's going to be people that had 50 and a half, 50. My point is, it's so minuscule. There's going to be 10,000 on the Ravens, 10,000 on the Chiefs, which we know is going to be 100,000. And there's going to be guys that should have lost that won, vice versa. So my point is here. We're doing all the work. You're doing all the work. We still got 5 weeks till then. Come on, boy. Join the fun.
Absolutely. 21 weeks in the CFL. We're just reaching double digits right now, Jeff. It's crazy to say, the first weekend, well, I guess we had over this past weekend, but the August is going to be jam-packed in the CFL. We've got rivalry weekend at the end of the month, which is going to be great. September is awesome because you've got the teams that are fighting for playoff spots, fighting for positions. And what's great, and this is a little tidbit for people, a lot of times teams that are fighting for home field or fighting to make the playoffs, those teams might win the game outright. Doesn't mean they cover the point spread. And that's the best part about, the business that you and I are in. We're not talking about wins and losses. We're talking about covering, and that's all we care about, which is exciting, especially in a league like the CFL with 9 teams, right? Realistically, you're never out of it. The Elks, they're probably not going to, could string off 4 of their next 5 games as wins, and all of a sudden they're back in the race, which is only in the CFL could you really say that.
So let's take us back to the weekend. You had a huge weekend for your clients. Big wins there. Take us back. What'd you see? Where'd you cash? What were you surprised of? Staying on the Elks for a quick second. You talked about Trey Ford, the ECSI VIPs. We cash a little pizza and beer money on the Elks team total over. I think they got a 42 burger. They scored. They were stuck on stupid at halftime. Slow third quarter. Turned it on in the fourth quarter. The game flies over. They win their first game outright. There was some nail-biting games, but the Dogs have been barking loud in the CFL the last couple weeks. And then we talked about Calgary, that team that just hangs around. Toronto looked like the world beaters the first half, and you just let Calgary hang around, and sure enough, they tie, they take the lead, and next thing you know, they win by 4, which... If you got the 4.5, God bless you. If you got the 4, well, you'll take the unhappy push, which was a cover the whole game. But what'd you see, Andrew?
Yeah, why don't we start it? We'll go in reverse. You just mentioned the Toronto game there. The biggest thing, and people can tell by me saying this, that I got the push. I was on the side that wasn't happy here with this one, but coaching. Look, we always talk about it. We're sports bettors. We're not coaches. We're not getting paid millions to coach teams. But I don't understand why Toronto didn't run the ball in the second half, Jeff. Protect the lead is all they had to do. You do not want to play scared. I'm not sitting here saying play scared, don't throw the ball. But in a sport where there's only 3 downs, you go 2 and out, they score, you go 2 and out again. That's a 14-point swing. And the storyline going into the game was the running back, the RB1 on Toronto, was the former RB1 for years on Calgary. The script wrote itself for the second half. Carey gets 2 touchdowns and runs the ball 145 yards to lead Toronto to a win. No. For some reason, they go into halftime winning, and they decide to go away from the run game, which very much shocked me. But when it comes down to it, that second half was a very good example of how you're never out of it in the CFL. At one point, I honestly believe Toronto scored 1 point. That's the most CFL thing ever. They scored 1 point in the second half. And the worst was that I thought, okay, you know what? I'm not going to be able to brag about my team getting the outright win, but even if it's 24-23, we're going to get the cover because Calgary's going to hit a walk-off field goal. Toronto gets the ball back. They go 3 and out, or they go for it on third down. Guess where they go up turnover on downs? On their own 40. So they get a stop, but Calgary kicks the field goal. Just like that, they're up by 4 and not 1 anymore. So that's kind of how that one ended. But credit to you, and we've been saying it, the Calgary, they're ATS covering machines, and the big reason is because they're never out of it. And apparently head coach Dickinson went into his locker room, and I'm shocked by where they are. And, you got to respect it. He went in at halftime and said, if you guys want to play for us and put this jersey on the next game, you better wake up and show me what you can do in the second half. That's what he said to his team, apparently. If you want to play for us next week, because they're playing the same team next week. It's a rematch. And, they go out and only give up 1 point. So that was crazy. The game prior to that one, of course, you mentioned it, Trey Ford and the Elks. I don't know if you caught this at all, Jeff. One thing crazy about that game, Trey Ford had to sit out a few snaps due to taking a hit. And I was like, you're kidding me. The whole handicap here was about the new quarterback coming in, and we're about to deal with the old quarterback being at the helm. But they pulled it off, and, I got to give credit. Look, as much as you catch the team total, as much as I catch the plus 5.5, the defense played well. The defense did play well. They made some plays. I was happy about that. And I'll look at the other games, really. Montreal versus Hamilton. There's not really much to say about that one. I called the bluff of the Hamilton Tiger Cats on your show, on my show, and said, I don't care about their win versus Toronto. I don't care about their win versus Edmonton. They beat Edmonton. Good for you. They were the only favorite to win, and they get the job done on the highway in Hamilton. But I think the big game to talk about, Jeff, is kind of the snooze fest. which I doubled up on. I never double up, but I thought it was correlated. I'm either going to go 2-0 or I'm going to go 0-2, and that was the Winnipeg versus BC game. Winnipeg hadn't covered a lot of point spreads on the season, but one thing they were doing was just going under the total every game. I think it was 1-7 to the under and 1-7 ATS. But the best part is, and you and I talked about it a lot, about how this year and last year, a lot of times wherever the number keeps on going, you almost want to bet against the move. Okay, this team opened up -3.5. Well, if I can get +5.5 on the other team, I'm going to take that number. And so that was one of those ones I didn't want to release on Monday or Tuesday. I knew there was only one way that line was going to go because the whole world thought they were getting a discount on BC off a bye, off a loss. But I keep on saying on the shows with you, Jeff, that there's most of the time you can't take home field into account. With Winnipeg, I think you can. So that was a great feeling. Their defense played well. They got the job done. And that tells us something here, is that with this Winnipeg team, getting those types of point spread ranges are going to be nice or even close games, because their defense is showing up right now. It's just their offense. Whereas the past few years when they've had success, it's been the other way around.
Shout out to Sean Alvarez, Mr. Smooth Turn himself. He says, happy Monday, gentlemen. And he goes, I use that term loosely, Mr. Dawson. Same right back at you, Mr. Alvarez. And I got to reach out to you. I need a small favor. Hopefully we can bump you from Friday to Thursday. We got a storm coming here, and I got an event to get ready for. But I'll talk to you about that. Before we get into this weekend's games, there was one wide receiver that stood out to me. He was making catch after catch. I'm going to butcher his name, and this is where Andrew McInnis comes in. Ayu?
Oh, yeah. Ajo or something like that.
Ajo.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, great player. I mean, he makes hard catches look easy every time. He's athletic. He gets up in the air. He's someone every team probably wants their hands on. He's going to get a payday. That's for sure. Oh, there we go. Sean's got you covered.
All right, Sean. I'll reach out to you later tonight, and we'll schedule a time on Thursday to get you. We can get that weekend covered. Going to be interesting, Mr. Alvarez, too, with Debbie coming up the East Coast, how it affects, obviously, Saratoga. It's supposed to hit the Cape Friday and Saturday, so it'll be interesting there. But yeah, Aju, he caught one pass that they ruled out at the pylon, and then he says, don't worry about it. Next drive, he caught one inside the pylon. I was like, I need him for my fantasy team.
I know. Next year, I actually might dip into the CFL fantasy, because of the way it works every week, it's so different. If you play your cards right, you can have success. But I think the big story, Jeff, we're gonna bring up players. How about Javon Leake? I think you saw me tweeting about him a little bit. 3 touchdowns. One of them being a typical rushing touchdown. 2 of them being like 50 or 60 yard runs from almost like near midfield. It's almost like he made. You know how when someone makes something so easy, you almost want to blame the defense. Like, I almost couldn't even respect what he did because I almost disrespected the defense so much. And according to these numbers, don't blame me, don't blame the messenger, he recorded the fastest burst of speed in football history. Burst is faster than Tyreek Hill, faster than some of these guys in the NFL.
The funny was that it was like watching Emmitt Smith and the Dallas Cowboys. Emmitt would go in untouched. There were holes that you and I could have walked through. And then so he gets the first touchdown right through the middle, the seas parted. And then his 2 long touchdowns, it was like he was untouched. And I'm just like scratching my head here. I'm like, wait a minute here. What the hell is going on?
To me, when I look at the CFL, it's so great because we're seeing new breakout players every week, it seems like. It's really great. And that's the best part about some teams like Edmonton as well, where you're going to have guys step up. That's one team that I'm not really playing props on, because who the hell knows who's going to step up each and every week. But, Jeff, before we jump into a couple of these, I wanted to ask you something, and this isn't more so just football related, not just CFL related, but you see it happen in the CFL. How do you deal with two teams playing each other in a short period of time in sports in general, NHL, NBA, NFL, call it, because we see it a lot in the CFL. And, we look at, so the point spread right now for the Argos, they're -1 only at home against the Stamps this week. Meanwhile, we talked about it, the settling number on game day was -4 for the home team Stamps. And a lot of times I've said, it seems to me like the road team's the team that always covers in these two home and homes because they're the ones getting points. And of course, well, if you got the 4.5, you covered on Toronto. I got the 4, I pushed. Yes, I'm still bitter about it. But what do you think about these scenarios? Do you agree with me? Sometimes there's just more value on the road team because of the points that are accounted for?
Well, it's funny because in the NFL, it used to be travel team playing on Sunday, going on to a Thursday game. Think about it. You just played a game on Sunday. You're sore. You can barely walk. You got your ice bath Sunday night. You go back to the field on Monday. You're just doing film study. Tuesday, you're doing a walkthrough. Wednesday, again, you put the pads on, but you're really not doing anything, and you're flying to your road game. So it was always home team and unders. Home team. That was the correlation for Thursday night football in the NFL. It's changed now. So you look at this one, and I look at it two ways. Toronto looked great the first half. They were the world beaters. It reminded me of that Toronto team from a couple of years ago. It's like, oh shit, they're starting to put something together here. And then Calgary hung around, and what they do what they always do. They found a way to win. You're gonna let us hang around, we're gonna beat you. So now I'm looking at this, and as we were talking, of course, they're watching. Toronto was being highlighted to -110. It's 110 right now on the money line. Toronto right now -1, -5 cents. What's that telling me? Next move's going to Calgary. We know what's going to happen again, at least today. Toronto's going to come out. They're pissed off. They're probably going to win the first half. They'll probably be up 14-10 at halftime, 14-9, 14-8, and in comes Calgary. Gets a score at the third quarter and do what they do best. They find a way to win in the fourth quarter.
That's what I was thinking, but it's also like, as much as Calgary won, are they gonna let that happen again in the first half? Are they gonna get embarrassed again in the first half? I'm with you. I think if I'm gonna trust Toronto to win a game, I'd rather them just win the first half. Don't even let them mess you up in the second half. At this point, what I'm kind of looking at with this game, Jeff, is the over, and the reason being, I don't necessarily think the last game deserved to go over. Well, what the last minute field goal that was kind of unnecessary. You had the game-winning field goal, but you had a Calgary team that kind of just came alive in the second half, a Toronto team that did nothing in the second half, and yet you look at this scoreline and you think, wow, they scored some points. I think that both teams could do better in game two.
What was the final score of the first game?
24-23, right? Oh, so it didn't go over.
24-21, right?
24-21. So, yeah, so it didn't go over, yeah.
No, actually, hold on. Timeout. 24-20. It was 44. It stayed under.
Yeah, it stayed under, yeah. So I think this one goes over.
What? The opening number is 49.5. It's 50 on DraftKings. Anyone watching and listening, and we got a boatload today, standing room only here, Andrew. Go pizza and beer money. We don't have to get crazy right now. Go take the over 49.5 and thank me and Andrew later.
Yeah.
It just landed 24-20. And they're giving us a 49.5. DraftKings is already up to 50. This game goes over. It's an overplay. And if you had Biff's Almanac and the write-up was so-and-so, fill in the blank, so-and-so, great fourth quarter, comeback victory, final score, blah, 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 blah. Fill in the blank. Who's coming from behind to win this game?
Yes.
You and I both know it's Calgary. That's what they do. It's not Toronto coming from back. So,
I mean, if Toronto does anything respectable in the second half of that game goes over and gets to the 50s.
Correct.
So the only difference, I think, is that both teams are going to tango early on, and if they're going to trade all game, I think. That's the difference. What do we always say, Jeff? it takes two to tango with a CFL over. Most game, even though the score ended up being close in that game, you need both teams trading, I believe, to go over. I mean, look at the Edmonton game. You might as well scratch that one off. That's crazy. That's craziness. I mean, your team total almost doubled. It's a great call. But do you know what I mean? I really believe that this game will be more like that compared. It was almost like you're going to score in the first half. We're going to score in the second half. We'll see which team scores more points. And I think in this game, it's going to be a little more back and forth. And back and forth, everybody watching, we've learned in the CFL, that's the only successful pathway to an over. In the NFL, we've seen blowouts go over the total. We've seen some high scoring. We need a garbage time touchdown to get us over. There's no real garbage time TDs in the CFL that are getting you over the total. It's like you're either trading points or you're not. And I'd love to know, Jeff, we'll have to get Ralph on this one. I'd love to know the comparison on that. Am I right? Am I just spewing stuff from my head here? What's the rate of close games and overs versus blowouts and unders? Because I feel like it'd be pretty similar. It'd be pretty accurate.
No, I like the thought process, the back and forth, and I was going to circle back here with that Edmonton-Hamilton game. No, Edmonton. Who did Edmonton play?
Saskatchewan.
We talked about the bend don't break, and here comes Edmonton. Field goal. The great 20-20, and then again they broke obviously in the fourth quarter with some big plays. When you're behind playing catch up, you try to make a big play. Obviously it didn't work there, but I love where your eyes are there. Again, it's on Friday, August 9th. Open of 1 and 49.5. It's still 1 minus 5 cents and a 50 now at DraftKings, 49.5 everywhere else. And I don't have my team totals today. So if I was just doing basic math, 49, 24.5, probably each team total 24. First one to 27 is going to win this game. I think it flies over the 49.5 there. On Thursday, Saskatchewan, Ottawa. I got an Ottawa opening up with a 1.5 with a 48.5. Ottawa money line minus 125. Saskatchewan plus 105. For me, just technically right now, I like the bounce back here with Saskatchewan. You might call me crazy early, and we're going to talk about this Thursday on your channel at 11 a.m. There as you and I move from Friday to Thursday there. But I like Saskatchewan in the bounce back. That's early. I may be crazy. I might be talking different on Thursday.
Nope. I'm with you, Jeff. Okay. I'm with you on that one. And I talked about it off the get-go, right? How funny this league can be. I made money with the clients betting Hamilton 2 weeks ago. I released a 5% on Edmonton this past weekend against Saskatchewan. This week, I want to take Saskatchewan. It goes to show that you can't have teams you don't like and you can't have teams you like. You're betting the numbers, right? And it's going to be back-to-back weeks. One of my favorite plays of the week, the team I bet against, I'm betting on them the next week, right? So it's all about spot. It's all about situation. And I think that this one is kind of interesting, though, Jeff, because we're going against the team that is undefeated ATS at home. Mm-hmm. I said to you last week that I thought Saskatchewan was due for a little bit of regression, and it might have added up well with the Trey Ford situation. You look at Ottawa, and I get it. They had some rest last week, 100%. They're off the bye. What did we learn last week about off the bye week? BC. Bye weeks, it's around 500 this year, it seems like, if that. And you look at this Ottawa team right now. They're 5-2, second place, and I'll guarantee you they will not finish in the East second place. 5-2 ATS, 5-2 straight up, 2-5 over under, 4-0 ATS at home, not 5-0. Excuse me, 4-0. Aren't they due for something disastrous to happen? Isn't something going to just mess with them, and they're going to get an angry team that just got embarrassed by Edmonton? And Saskatchewan, to me, their defense is going to be able to swallow up Ottawa. They haven't dealt with a good defense. I still trust Ottawa's defense to deal with a team I trust Saskatchewan's defense to deal with a team like Ottawa. And the reason why I trust them is because Ottawa looks great until they don't. They're a team that's offense looks a hell of a lot different when it's 0-0 versus when they're down 13-3. They hit the panic button. They hit that big red button. They start making bad throws, making bad decisions. And I think Saskatchewan's bend, don't break style that you explained to us last week will really benefit them in this matchup.
What a welcome Caesars as they are listening as we speak. They open up Toronto -1, -5 cents, and they gave us the 49.5 as well. So welcome Caesars. Glad you're joining us as we speak in bright red. Hamilton, Montreal. I got Montreal -7.5, -10 cents, and a 51 and a hook -15 cents. I expect. Money line of Montreal -380. You can grab Hamilton +300. I think we saw what happens when Hamilton plays a real team. Now, I'm going to tell you this. When we have tried to get cute here, Andrew, I don't like the 7.5, but let's take Montreal first half minus the 4.5, and next thing you know at halftime, it's 14-13. So I'm going to stick to my guns here. I think the first move here will go to 8. I don't think it will go to a flat 7. I could be wrong. People remember what they saw last year. Fully expect Montreal to win this game. If you're playing parlay pieces, and I know it's -300, I'm not telling you to run to the window to punch a ticket -300. My point here is if you're playing parlay pieces and you want to add Montreal -300 just to win the game, don't worry about that. I get that. My point is, I like Montreal here. I think they win by double digits.
I agree because you look at the last week, and I think, the old Andrew would say that in this matchup, I shouldn't say the old Andrew. I often like to bet on the team that lost, especially what did I just say a couple minutes ago? The road team in these home and homes, right? And I'm not saying maybe I will end up jumping on it, right? But not right now at this number. You use the expression "go number" sometimes to us, Jeff. I think that this is one of those ones. A lot of times, if you're 6.5, that seems to be a line that the underdog comes in. If you're 7.5, I think the books want underdog money here. I think that this is a Montreal team that's going to steamroll them, and I don't think that Hamilton's going to be able to trade points. I don't think they're going to be able to put up the amount of points. If Montreal reaches 27 or 30 points, Hamilton's screwed. This is one of those things where I don't think Hamilton's going to be able to trade points with them. The only way that this benefits them covering is if both teams play a defensive game. I'm not sure that's going to happen. So I'd have to look towards taking the home team here in this one. The 51 kind of has me intrigued as a total, because I think this game actually could go under. Because what do you always say, Jeff, about some of these teams? This team doesn't want to play a game first to 30, Hamilton. And they might have to, but for as long as they can, let's say they win the kickoff, they win the coin flip, they get the ball first. They're not opening up the game with a 40-yard throw, right? They're going to try and just establish a few first downs, and all of a sudden I'm texting you saying, we're in the 6-minute mark of the first quarter, and one team is up 3-0. You got 51 points, and what did we just talk about? It takes 2 to tango. This could be a nice underplay, I believe.
And I'm trying to do the quick math in my head here. 29-21 is kind of what they have this one on. Be interested to see what that Montreal team total is. Do they give you the 28 and a hook juiced under? Because I see this 30-20. That's where my head is right now.
Yes, me too.
I can see Montreal getting to that 30-31 spot. So we'll be keeping our eyes on Thursday, obviously, for the team totals and where that number is shifted to. The Sunday night special, BC at Edmonton. I got no numbers, so I don't know if you have numbers on that game.
I've got nothing right now, Jeff. We'll wait till the end of the week to go through it. We're waiting on some injury information because of BC's quarterback problem, right? So like I mentioned, he talked to you on Friday, another quarterback goes down. I can't remember who it was that commented on our show together. I feel so bad. Tommy, I believe. Someone commented on the show, and they said that the problem is that they believe is they need to change the rule with how many Americans are allowed to be on the field at once, because the fact of the matter is the offensive linemen from Canada aren't doing a good enough job, and the rules and the talent disparity, these guys aren't being protected as well. And whether or not they're leaving the pocket to scramble or they're just taking hard hits, these quarterbacks are going down. And as you know, the second strings are a lot different than the first string. So I'm real interested in what number they give us here. Is it going to be an Elks number? Is it going to be a BC number where we bet on the backup quarterback? Time will tell. But I'll give you one thing on the way out here. BC will be the first team to make a trade, I think, closing in on the trade deadline. I think they might get a quarterback.
So seeing their dismal effort, seeing where their quarterback play is, not knowing, obviously, where it is, who's playing, second string, third string, fourth string. Are they going to call up Andrew McInnis? Are they going to call Warren Moon or Doug Flutie to the rescue? We don't know that. So my question is, we saw what Trey Ford did. We know how the books have been with this Edmonton Elk team. Put up 42 against a bad team last week. We'll give them credit, but they got their first win. Shocked the Sunday before. They were 3.5, 4-point favorites. Give me for poops and giggles, give me an Andrew McInnis. We don't know who's at quarterback. What do you think the opening number is?
Who's at home? BC's at home, or the Elks are at home?
Elks are at home?
Elks are at home. I think we're going to see like road favorites, 3 in the hook, 4.5 BC.
Okay,
something
so
something like that.
We had BC 3.5 get steamed to 5.5 last week, get blown off. They get shut out. They get blown off the rack. I have a number in my head. Here. My initial thought was BC minus 3.5. I'm going to take it a step further. And we'll find out on Thursday. Mm-hmm. Opening number, when we don't know who's quarterbacking. BC 2 and a hook.
BC 2 in the hook. Does that mean that they're favored in? I was going to say that. So then, what's the line if it's in BC? 4.5, 5.
Well, it's in Edmonton. I think BC would have been 6.5. At least. Probably more. To be honest with you, BC's been getting a ton of respect.
If I'm on the right side of 3, Jeff, I'm playing Edmonton. If it's on the wrong side of 3, then I might see where the dust settles a little bit.
Well, because my BC 2 and a hook number was for one reason only. Because the public's going to jump on BC. Bad game, shutout. They're going to the Elks. Elks were a fluke. They stink. And so the public was going to push the 2.5 immediately to 3.5. But if you saw a 4.5, 5 number, not knowing who the quarterback is, you're going to get nothing but Elk money till it settles at that 3.5 number.
Well, Jake Dulagala, quarterback for BC, second stringer, he didn't make the Saskatchewan team. Neither did Mason Fine make the team. So after Trevor Harris, there were not one, but 2 new quarterbacks that made the system. And Jake DeLagala out, Mason Fine out. Jake DeLagala finds himself landing in BC. Is this going to be his shot? And one thing about him that I kind of have always noticed, his pocket presence. If he's not passing the ball in the pocket, he's not going to pass the ball when he moves. Some quarterbacks are able to pass the ball on the move. He can't. The second he escapes the pocket, he's running or he's going down or throwing the ball away. So I was going to say take a look at the under, but I don't know if I could wish anybody, not even my worst enemies, to take an under on the Elks games. But I think that will really be a big deterrent, because one thing about BC, Jeff, and we saw it with Winnipeg too, and it should be something for us to really take into account here. How much does a quarterback coach or offensive coordinator change the play calls when it's a new quarterback? Because right now, Winnipeg hasn't looked the same, and they're finally starting to get it going the past few weeks, changing their style. You know what? Our quarterback, he's not connecting with the guys downfield like he used to be. Maybe we have to change how we coach, right? That's at Winnipeg. They just didn't look the same. If you watch BC games, every throw they make is 15, 20 yards. Is that going to be the same style if it's not Vernon Adams as the quarterback? That, to me, is the big question we should be asking.
Well, last year there was a team, and it's slipping my mind, that was down to their third string quarterback, and this team was nothing but, you were sitting there yelling and screaming, hey, can we move the chains? They were just, 20, 30, 40-yard chuck and ducks. Well, the third string quarterback didn't have an arm for that, and he was Captain Dink and Dunk here. And so they had to change their offense in the middle of the season due to the fact that I think he was the third string. Slip in my mind.
It was Saskatchewan. I think it might have been Saskatchewan because I had to watch them play in Halifax, and Trevor Harris got injured last year, just like this year. And I told you how excited I was for the game in Halifax, and it ended up being a snooze fest because only one team could throw the ball. I think, am I right there? I think that might have been the team. And the guy that was playing was the guy I just talked about, Mason Fine, that got cut at training camp this year.
It's going to be interesting. We'll be able to talk a lot more of this, obviously, Thursday, 11 a.m. on Andrew's channel at Wager Talk at McInnis Picks. The scroll has been going the whole time. And by the way, I told Andrew backstage to hammer the under 30 minutes as we just hit the 42-minute mark. And I got to give a huge shout out. Huge crowd today. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for joining us here. If you haven't already gone over to YouTube at East Coast Sports Investors at McInnis Picks, subscribe. It's free. It's a way for you to be tipping the dealer here. If you're on X, you want to retweet the show, tell a buddy or two, please do. But the scroll has been going the whole time. You can follow Andrew, of course, on at McInnis Picks, at Wager Talk, Mayflower Sports. Head on over to YouTube, of course, at McInnis Picks. And the promo that Andrew's going to talk about at wt.buzz/am. Andrew, take it away.
Jeff, I really appreciate it as always. It feels like it's so great. We talk every few days together. I talk to you on Monday. We're texting over the weekend. I'll see you on Thursday or Friday again. But a lot of times when I come on the show, I appreciate when you give me a chance to mention a few things we have going at Wager Talk. But I usually offer you guys a 3 or 7 day pass or a discount code for a big hockey play. And I appreciate everybody that joins me. But guys, if anybody's wanted to join with me when watching my shows here with Jeff on the channel, this is a good time to jump on for a few months. We got a special going right now. You buy September and October in this special at my page. You get August for free. So the sooner you buy this deal, the more days in August you're going to get. That's the way it works. So you buy September and October. September and October, that gets you to my NHL exhibition plays, first week or two of the NHL season. We're going to get a first handful of weeks of the NFL. We're going to get UFC. You're going to get CFL. You're going to get MLB plays. A lot of stuff going on, all these sports in one package. And again, you're pretty much getting three for the price of two. So it's a great one. wt.buzz/am. And guys, again, might be a little more expensive of a package than I'm usually letting you know about, but if you're just buying 3-day packages, those all add up as well. So UFC, CFL, MLB, all these sports. And again, you guys know NHL is my bread and butter. So that'll be there in September again, Jeff.
I remember like it was yesterday. We're doing NHL previews. We're talking Rangers. We're talking Panthers. We're talking Avalanche, Stars. We're handing out these futures in September. And next thing you know, we're adding to the package in January, and then we're going through the playoffs, and then people are reaching out via DMs and texts. Jesus, I remember when you guys gave out this, and wow, that was So it gives you opportunities to grab some tickets, add them to your portfolio, and as the season progresses, hey, I like the Stars in January. Hey, so and so's getting hot here, and it gives you opportunities as the playoffs are going to actually hedge through. If the Panthers are playing the Leafs, and I knew I didn't want to say the Bruins, I said, but it gives you great window dressing and opportunities for both sides.
Absolutely, and that's the thing is when you get in early like that, you're committing for the long term, as you preach, as the brand East Coast sports investors preaches. We're not here for a week, we're not here for 3 days, we're here for the handful of months, 6 months to the year. A lot of people watching the show right now, they probably watch us every week, so why not jump on board and get all my plays for the next few months?
5 o'clock. I was going to go 4:30, but we crushed the over. Myself and Riley Magnuson will be back for the closing bell. I'm going to talk about my buddy's ticket from New York. $11 turns into 500 plus on Scheffler at 45-1. He was up at the crack beep of dawn, getting involved in that one. So want to thank everyone here. Shout out to Amber. Shout out to Mr. Sean Alvarez. Go find Sean too at Smooth Turn 2 at WagerTalk. And if you're looking for some horse plays and some much, much more there. So for myself, Jeff Dawson at EC Sports Invest, the one and only Andrew McInnis at McInnis Picks, we thank you all. Myself and Andrew will be back at 11 a.m. East Coast time at McInnis Picks at WagerTalk to recap what we just talked about. And we'll see where the numbers have shifted. We'll see how Andrew McInnis moves numbers. We'll see you soon.